I just want to start by touching on last week's game. I know you said a lot after it about the performance, but how do you reflect on it now, a few days on?
Last week's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, some aspects of the performance were positive. Defensively, considering the amount that we had to do, I thought we did that side of the job well. But offensively, yeah, there's massive areas of improvement for us. One being ball control. The amount of unforced errors and basic mistakes we made is unacceptable at Super League level. And having a completion rate at 25% in the first 30 minutes doesn't give you an opportunity to get yourself into the game. So the players are aware of that, and our ball control needs to be better tomorrow.
Just on the team news front, injury-wise, I know Nathan Mass has been named in the 21. He had a shoulder issue, didn't he, the other day? Is he all good to go?
Still unsure if he's going to make it. He's managed to get through team run okay, but we'll make that decision tomorrow.
Just elsewhere on a couple of other players that haven't made it. Greg Eden, how's he coming on? Is it just sort of 1 week too early for him? Or?
No, it's just a couple of weeks. I've got some symptoms on the tendon on the calf, so we've just got to be smart with Greg. Spoke about him before. He's a highly tuned performance athlete. What we've got to do is try and make sure that we don't rush him back too quickly for it to go again. So just need to finish the last parts of his rehab and gently reintroduce him to team training with a view to being selected. But at the moment he's still a couple of weeks away.
And George Griffin, I know he missed last week. Is he ready to go back in contention?
Yeah, George is, back in contention. A couple of those, middles, I've made the decision to try and, manage them from a performance point of view. George has had a couple of bumps and bruises and, done it tough in a couple of games. Was sore after that Hull FC game with a bit of a sternum. So made the decision to stand him down last week, try and recover, get his body fully recharged with a view to coming back into consideration for selection tomorrow.
How much does he add in terms of sort of experience in that middle when you've got several young forwards like Mustafa, Brad Martin, Sam Hall? How much does George help being in there in that sense?
Yeah, George gives you a lot of experience. Been around Super League for a long time now. Spent some time at Hull Kingston Rovers and Salford, and he's performed with good distinction for Casper over 3 or 4 years now. Hard worker, good defensively in that contact area, and he's someone who leaves it all out on the field. So we're looking forward to having George back within the squad tomorrow.
I know you touched on last week with a few players having left the club about sort of looking into the market. Are you any sort of further down the line with that in terms of looking at players from elsewhere?
Yeah, we're looking at players. We're looking everywhere. It's a really challenging market. It sounds a little bit like a broken record. We get asked the same question, and the answers tend to be the same. The salary cap in the NRL is a challenge because it's so high, which means the lower end of their player pool, commanding massive salaries, which obviously teams over here haven't got at this moment in time, and then. The market over in Super League, teams are a little bit busted and bodies bruised, reluctant to let, the players out just in case they're needed at their own respective clubs. So we are looking everywhere, but we need to make sure that we make the right decisions which will improve the team, not only strengthen your numbers, but improve the team. So, we are looking, but at the moment, we haven't, found anything which fits the bill.
Is it very much in that regard sort of smart to be patient and actually wait for the right opportunity to come up as opposed to making some sort of knee-jerk decision to bring anyone in?
Well, there's three strands to it. You've got to have the money available, which we've got. Then you've got to identify the player. We've identified a couple of players, but then, they've knocked us back. So, you've got to get all three aligned, and it's a challenge. Wakefield obviously have made a couple of additions recently, and there's some guys obviously in there who could potentially strengthen their squad certainly, and could strengthen their team. But we need to make sure that we select the right player and make sure that he's someone who can help the team, but also cover a couple of positions as well. So we are looking, but like I say, it's challenging.
Moving on to this weekend, then Leeds. What are you expecting from them?
Leeds are a difficult team to preview. Very, very athletic. Play front foot, play eyes up, move the ball, take risks, and they'll challenge you, from try line to try line. So defensively, it's really, really important that we're fully switched on and try and neutralise, those individual threats that they've got. We've seen obviously the press reports, and we're aware that there may be one or two busted bodies, but within that 21-man squad, they can still put a very, very good team on the park. So we're expecting the best version of Leeds, and we'll need to be good ourselves, to get performance. And if we get a performance, hopefully we get the right result.
You always got that win over them a couple of months back at the Jungle. I think it was your first win in charge. How much can you take from that in terms of sort of confidence and knowing that of the teams you have beaten this season, that they're one of them?
Yeah, you can take a little bit of confidence from it. The fact that we beat, a team which had the likes of Caesar and Austin and Lasoni and, Fossatore were playing, and we'll take confidence from the fact that we know on our day we're capable of beating them. But it's all about the 80-minute performance. The work you do during the week gives you confidence leading into the game, but we're in that performance arena now, and we need to make sure that we perform well, take care of what we need to do well, and hopefully that will allow us to neutralise obviously the threats that Leeds have got. But they're a very, very dangerous team, and the showcase when they've got the backs to the wall last week, it brings out a different type of quality in that Rhinos culture. So it's going to be a real challenging game, but one we're looking forward to.
And just lastly from me, Magic Weekend, obviously, its future as an event is up in the air a little bit. What's your take on it? What do you make of it?
I really like the Magic Weekend. I think it's a great weekend for rugby league folk to get together, share, the highs and lows of their team's performance over the weekend, and it gives the teams who may be struggling at the wrong end of the table an opportunity to play on a big stage in front of a big crowd. And the St James's Park atmosphere is a great one. The fans, make it a great occasion, and we know that, the supporters, love those weekends. So I'm a big advocate for, the Magic Weekend. It's a festival of rugby league. It brings the rugby league community together, and it showcases the best of what our sport has got to offer, and the fact that every game is live on Sky, and they do a great job at promoting obviously our game, and the games promote what our competition's all about. I think it's a great spectacle, and it's one that I hope we continue moving forward.
I spoke to Alex Mellor earlier in the week. He said you're drawing a line under the first half of the season. Is that the message that the season kind of starts now?
Yeah, definitely. We did a quite an open, honest, crisis meeting, so to speak, on the Monday leading into the Huddersfield game. Was trying to hold back on that, hoping that, get to the start of, next season and do that. But, I think the way that the season had gone, we need to fast forward and, set some standards, now, and start living by those standards, and, draw a line in that first half of the season. Know that the performances were at the level we expect, and we need to make sure that we improve our performances on a day-to-day basis, and hope that will lead to better performances when it comes to game day. So there were some positives to take from the week's practice leading into Huddersfield, albeit, performance wasn't great that first 30 minutes because of the amount of errors that we made. But it felt different in the change rooms after the game. Although we lost, it felt different. There was a different atmosphere between the players, and that's been evident again this week. So we need to make sure that we perform well and, give a good account of ourselves against Leeds.
In terms of taking that next step and getting the result, how much would it do for your mental state to start putting some daylight between yourselves and Wakefield?
Yeah, it'd be very, very important for us in terms of reaffirming some of the messages that we've been speaking to the players about, and like you say, giving us that confidence to know that what we've been doing, the work that we've done, has resulted in us getting a result and the performance at the weekend. So, it's vitally important that we don't look too far ahead. We've just got to focus on this 80 minutes, focus on, two good quality 40 minutes put together, and hope that gives us an opportunity to win the game on Saturday.
Would getting further away from the bottom help you to play the kind of rugby you're trying to promote? You're taking the shackles off a bit and that pressure off.
It's a strange one, we've made more errors in the competition than any team in the comp. So it's not the fact that we aren't throwing the ball about; it's the fact that we aren't nailing those plays. Last week we made 4 or 5 really, really good opportunities, but we didn't nail that final pass. And when you make those errors and you make those unforced errors, which we're doing, it starts to rob you of confidence, and it starts to take away your energy, to perform at your best. So it's as much a mental challenge as it is a physical one and a technical one. But like you say, if we can get a couple of wins, hopefully that gives you the confidence, and then passes will start to stick.
Yeah, Joe Westerman's 400th career appearance this week, and that's some going, isn't it?
Yeah, it's real some going. We've done a bit of a shared presentation today and put a bit of a video together, which had messages from his teammates and his family. Very, very special occasion for Joe to make 400 appearances at Super League level. It's an outstanding achievement. He competes hard. He made his first team debut as a 17-year-old, and I've been fortunate enough to spend a fair bit of time with Joe at Hull FC, and then had a year with him at Wakefield, and then been with him the last 2 years. And he's an exceptionally talented player, and really, really tough competitor. And I'm looking forward to him getting an opportunity of playing his 400th in what should be a really good game against the Leeds Rhinos.
How influential is he to this team? Do you kind of see it when he's not there?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he's a very, very influential player for us. I think everyone's aware that he's a link between the forward pack and the halves. Very, very skillful player. Got great pass and catch, and he has that ability, to link our outside backs to the span players. And he competes hard. He started to, carry the ball a little bit more this year, and chew up the meters from a ball carrying point of view. And he's an influential player, and I think when Joe plays well, Casper tends to play well.
On Leeds' injuries, do you have to sort of put that to one side and maybe not look at their team sheet too much? Obviously, when you see halfbacks missing and influential players like that, could a little bit of complacency creep in, maybe, even despite the form that your side have been in? It
can't from us. I think the way that we've been performing, we can't look too much at the opposition. I think we've got to make sure that we perform well ourselves, make sure that we do what needs to be done in the game, complete high, make sure our ball security is good, kick well, defend well, be connected, and play with the intent and energy which is required to be a Leeds team, regardless of us playing for Leeds. On the injury front, you look at the 20-man squad that Leeds have put together, and you go through a potential starting team, they're still littered with internationals. If they played Dash Hanley at fullback and Alfort's on a wing and Tyndall on a wing, probably Reece Martin and Nene McDonald in the 2 centres, those 2 are PNG internationals. And, you potentially have Blake Austin back in the team, and Richie Marler at half-back, and Tom O'Royd and O'Connor and Mikel Ialetsky and Bentley, McDonald and Cam Smith. It's an unbelievable 13. So, it's a very, very a good team. We're not looking too much at them. We just need to make sure that we perform to the best that we can, and make sure that, we put in a solid 80 minutes.
Is that the way forward for you this season? Just focus on yourselves, get your own performance right, and then let everything else take care of itself, really?
As coaches, we'll always look at the opposition. You always look at a bit of a preview. You'll always come up with a game plan, so to speak, from a technical and tactical point of view, to try and highlight some areas where you think a team may be deficient, and also highlight some areas where you think teams are particularly strong. But you've got to go out and nail that game plan. And what we haven't done over the course of, a few weeks now is give ourselves a chance. We got off to a poor start against Catalan because of poor ball control and then some fundamental attention errors defensively. The same was could be said in the Challenge Cup game against Hull FC, and that was evident against last week. So by the time you get into the game and you maybe introducing the bench and fatigue's creeping in, you're already down on the scoreboard. So we've got to give ourselves a chance by starting the game well, doing the right thing in terms of ball control and completing and getting to the end of sets and building some pressure, and know that will give you an opportunity to compete. We did that really, really well when we beat Leeds at home, and was able to defend with some energy because we actually went set for set with them, and was able to force some errors against Leeds Rhinos by, an ability to keep moving defensively and hustling hard. We'll need to do the same tomorrow, but we need to do it from first minute to the 80th.
Jason Garrigary's back in from loan. Is he in contention? Got a chance? Been impressed by what you've seen with his loan spell?
Yeah, he's got a chance. He's trained well. We've had a good chat with him with regards to he's got to start taking the next step. It's been well documented that we sent him out on loan to Bradford to try and improve aspects of his performance from a yardage carrying point of view, and doing a little bit more out of backfield because the modern day winger is so important in getting your set started, and Jason needs to do that better than he'd currently been. So that was the reason and thought process behind going playing at championship level against bigger bodies on that pitch at Bradford, where it's a little bit smaller and he'd have to carry the ball 15, 20 times a game to improve that area. He's done that okay. Obviously, they've had a change of coach, so they wanted to use their own players, which give us an opportunity to obviously bring Jace back. We all know what he's capable of doing. What Jace needs to do now is start delivering it on a consistent basis, and not just be a finisher, but he needs to roll his sleeves up and do a little bit more for us out of backfield. So there's every chance he'll be doing that on the weekend.
Yeah, and on the other side, Sutcliffe I think's gone out dual registration with Halifax. What's the thinking behind that one?
Just form. He played against Hull FC. Didn't think he played particularly well against Hull, albeit it's his first game back. Alex has spent a fair bit of time on the sideline, struggling a little bit with his body and his robustness. So I made the decision after he played against Hull FC that he needed to continue playing. So he had a game in the reserves. He did okay in the reserves, but he hadn't done enough to get himself back into the 17 for us. So made the decision, to continue that week in, week out playing by using the dual registration at Halifax. And, Halifax in Simon Grix was, really keen to give him an opportunity playing in that back row. So, Alex will benefit from the game time of playing. This will be his third game in 3 weeks, which is something he's not been able to do for a while now. So I'm hoping he takes confidence from that his body's capable of playing the rigours of rugby league week in, week out, and will benefit from that because he'll be getting some much needed game time and much needed opportunity to get some form, so to speak.
And just finally, sorry, I know you've been asked about recruitment, but there is a piece going around linking Casper to Nixon Putt, Papua New Guinea international. Is there anything you can say on that, or is it a player that you have looked at and interested in?
Yeah, I've looked at him. Looked at him in great detail. Played in all the games in the World Cup. Real handful. Strong ball carrier. Someone we've looked at, and we'll be monitoring and assessing if he's the right type of signing for us moving forward.
I imagine the World Cup, it might have been too soon to sign any players for 2023, but the World Cup being this side of the world did help all the clubs in Super League Championship have a look at the players that they might not get to see so often that are below NRL in the sort of Queensland Cup.
Yeah, definitely. And also, if they've become World Cup players, that allows you to get them in from a overseas point of view. They've get so many points, for playing obviously for Cook Islands or PNG or Samoa, etc. So, we're looking in that market. We've had a look at, plenty of players who played in the World Cup. So, yeah, Nixon Putt is certainly someone that, we've had a good look at.